Hello all, today I'm going to introduce you to two old characters of mine called Charlotte and Rainbuttons. Charlotte is the human you will see me drawing now, and Rainbuttons is the cat-like creature you'll see in the digital rendering. The digital rendering will actually be a redraw of the oldest piece I did of Charlotte and Rainbuttons together, which I did actually redraw a couple months after doing the original drawing, but now I'm going to redraw it again, a couple years after. So here are the basics. The character's name is Charlotte Green. She'll be turning 11 years old on March the 8th this year. She goes by she, her, and her hobbies include DIY crafting, scrapbooking, and wood carving. She also has an odd habit of collecting empty tissue boxes, hoping to eventually use them all in a crafted project in her future. And she was born missing one of her forearms, because in the original design she was missing part of her leg because apparently Rainbuttons ate it off, but I think that's silly because why would she still be friends with Rainbuttons if it literally ate her leg? So I changed it to a missing arm that she was born with because I think it's more of a challenge to her character because she's a creative type and she uses her hands a lot. So I guess I should say she uses her hand a lot, only has one. Anyway, Rainbuttons is her best friend, who is a stuffed toy that her mum made her, and its features that are usually purple change colour depending on its mood. You won't see me drawing the normal rendition of Rainbuttons, but it is just a stuffed cat toy that is grey with purple buttons for eyes. What you will see is what I call the midnight form of Rainbuttons, which is a monstrous serpent-like version. It wasn't exactly clear from the old character profile, but I think that the midnight form is triggered by extreme hunger or rage or something. Charlotte likes both forms of Rainbuttons and isn't afraid of the midnight form, although you'd think she would be. Charlotte's a brave, creative, and resourceful type of character. She is extroverted and she works well in groups, often trying to always get along with everyone. Although she has a low self-esteem and bottles her emotions until they burst in an episode of crying and screaming. She also often lies, a trait that she got from her mother, because she often doesn't think her actual opinions are good enough, or that how she lives is good enough to tell anyone about her true self. Which is a shame because Charlotte is a really nice, cool character. She's an ENFP and she's a Pisces, which I always like to do the MBTI and the zodiac sign of every character I make just because it's just like a rough link to their personality. I actually make their personality first and then do the zodiac and the MBTI test for them. So it's just like a rough outline of their personality that I can associate with it to make sure that I'm actually making a personality that a real human being would have, and it's not just some random garble that I've put together. Anyway, here's the backstory. Charlotte comes from a household that has just enough money to live relatively comfortably, and oh my god, hopefully you can't hear that. I think it's either whippersnipping or mowing happening in the background. Hope you can't hear that, sorry. Anyway, Charlotte is happy with her home, but she's treated differently at school because she's missing part of her arm, and she just in general doesn't like the same things that the other kids do. So even though she tries to make friends and is really charismatic, her differences just deter the other kids who are not the greatest or nicest kids in her class. So she takes refuge at home where she can be herself and not worry about judging stares. But one day, her house and sanctuary is disturbed because her dad leaves after a intense verbal fight with her mum, and they lose a big chunk of their income that was coming from her dad. So they're forced to live at her mother's workplace. Her mother owns a small toy shop and runs it by herself as both the toy maker and the cashier. But to Charlotte's surprise, the tiny little toy shop is not well where they will have to live. Her mother, named Tessa, is part of a ring of thieves that have a home base in an abandoned orphanage, and this is where Charlotte now has to live. Charlotte isn't exactly aware of the crime that's going around her, but she thinks that she'd be more happy if she had to live in the cramped toy shop, because the atmosphere of the orphanage makes her uncomfortable. Although there is more space and freedom at the orphanage, it is still run down and mouldy, and it may have some supernatural secrets hidden that Charlotte has to find. Charlotte is adventurous, so if I was to ever write a story with her in Rainbuttons, it'd probably be a mystery that revolves around the orphanage and some added drama of her mum's job on the side. It would be a supernatural, paranormal thingy story, as well. Rainbuttons having a monster form isn't exactly natural, is it? And I'm pretty sure the monster form would only appear when they moved to the orphanage. It would have just been a normal cat toy before moving to the orphanage. So something spooky's going down at the orphanage. Don't know what exactly yet, but maybe I'll figure that out in the future and make an update. Now I'll talk about her redesign. The things that have stayed consistent in her design is the ginger hair and overalls, blue overalls. Except the overalls themselves are also different, really, because she had just shorts overalls, but now she has a skirt overalls that have frilly straps and have a tree embroidered into it. The embroidery is from her mum, because Charlotte likes trees because she thinks the science of them is cool. She has freckles and her eyes are green. She wears a black cat headband with red bows to hold up her pigtails. She has a red striped shirt and blue socks that have a stitching like shoelaces up to the little bows at the top of them, and she has black Mary Jane shoes. She also has a red scrunchie on her wrist as an homage to her mother, who has a bow on her wrist as an homage to her daughter. It's like their friendship bracelet kind of thing. But it's hair accessories instead. Maybe in the future I'll show you the design of her mother. So she has a lot of boxes and circles in her redesign to show her sort of sturdy, resourceful, and bubbly nature as a character. And I wanted her to look like a sort of in-between of a tomboy and very feminine look. Like just right in between both of the types. So about the drawing you see me doing in the background, I went for another monochromatic background. I've been doing a lot of those lately in my digital art. Except I eventually change it to two-toned because it just looks better. And it's set in a bedroom of the orphanage that she has to live in, with big tall windows and a bed you can see in the background with tiled floors. And since the light is yellow, I recently learnt a tip that with digital art you should use the RGB color palette color wheel rather than RYB, which I have been using, so that you can pick the colors of your shadows better. So here I've got yellow light coming through the windows, so I use green and purple as transitional darker colors to the eventual darkest shadow color being blue. And the transitional colors thing is also a new shadow strategy I'm trying to make a little bit more depth in my shadows and make them just a bit more colourful, because I love colourful shadows. Here are the drawings of her from 2020 February to 2020 May to 2023 January. Thanks for watching and goodbye.